doing today? First of all, I want to thank you very much for having me here today. These smaller presentations are a lot more fun. Gives people a little less shy to ask questions. So like Tammy said in the introduction, by all means, when we're done, if you want to fire away with questions, whether it be open forum like this or just sit off to the side, have a pizza, and that's the other. Arden was not frugal. It's too cheap to buy beer, so there's not going to be any beer with the pizza. But no, I won't bug Arden anymore. But yeah, best place to start the presentation, at the very beginning, address the whole obvious elephant in the room, the thing that you guys can see with me here up on stage or up on screen. I'm not wearing the exact same clothes in that picture as I am right now. The pants are lighter green and it's a different shirt. I once did a presentation and I was wearing the exact same clothes in the picture, and my brother said, well, I'm pretty sure nobody noticed what clothes you're wearing. When you have a guy with arms and legs, that's enough of a distraction that I'm not even going to care what you're wearing. But so yeah, I was born like this. No real known reason as to why. A lot of people have asked if it was thalidomide, which was a morning sickness pill back in the 60s, which is way before my time. I am from southern Alberta, Nanton. My parents are not related. That's not why I was born like this. It's just one of those things that happened. And even though I was born missing arms and legs, my life growing up was very normal. I helped out on the farm, and I can't stress. I played all the sports. I went to regular school, all that kind of stuff. And I go as far as to tell people that my life growing up was easy. And a lot of people find that surprising. Like, how could it possibly be easy growing up without arms and legs? And I think there's two main reasons as to why that was the case. One, this has been my normal my whole life. I've never known what it's like to have arms and legs. So kids will ask me, what does it feel like to not have any arms and legs or whatever? And I'll say, well, what does it feel like to have arms and legs? I'll say, well, it feels normal. Yeah, you guys have fingers, toes, knees, elbows. Bunch of lucky bastards, first of all. But you just figured out how to use it. When you're a little baby, you learn how to grasp things with your hands. Then you learn how to crawl. Then you learn how to walk. Then you learn how to run, and everything happened pretty naturally. Pretty much the same thing for me. I was born with what I have, and I just figured out how to do things. It does take me longer to do some things. It takes me a lot more energy to do my day-to-days. But basically anything that you guys can think of that you're able to do, I'm able to do as well in some shape, way, or form. A lot of people ask me why I don't wear prosthetics. I used to wear them up until about 8 years ago. I was down in Florida, actually not very far from where Cab was, just this past spring. And I was taking a course down there. And I went to the Ron John Surf Shop in Fort Lauderdale, and I bought myself a longboard. I thought it'd be kind of cool to cruise around up and down the boardwalk along the beach. And that very first day on the board, I was cruising along down on the sidewalk. After about 5 or 10 minutes, I stopped to take a bit of a rest, and I saw how much distance I just covered. I was able to go farther, faster, way more efficiently on the board than I ever could on the legs. Didn't have to take 10 or 15 minutes to put the legs on in the morning. And honestly, it was kind of a badass way to get around. And I love the way people react to me when I'm on the board as opposed to how they would react to me when I was on the artificial legs. And I think there's like this appreciation of, this is me, take it or leave me. I'm not trying to hide that I'm missing limbs, nothing like that. This is me, take it or leave it. And I've never been self-conscious about, I shouldn't say never, that'd be a lie. We're all self-conscious. We all look in the mirror from time to time and we see imperfections. But for the most part, it was never really about my not having any arms and legs. I was always comfortable in my own skin, proud of who I am. And probably a big reason why that is the case is the second reason, and I think the most important reason as to why I tell people that life growing up was easy, and it's a good sense of humor. Not a word of a lie. The day I was born, my uncle phoned my grandma and grandpa to tell them that my mom and dad had a baby boy and that I was healthy, but my arms and legs were missing. My grandma's reaction, again, not a word of a lie, was my dad never finished anything he started. And that was perfect. That was absolutely perfect. I could not have asked for a better first day than that. My grandma's reaction wasn't one of, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? Her reaction was, all right, it is what it is, everything's going to be fine, we'll figure this out, and we're going to have some good laughs along the way. So in continuing that same theme, my brother refers to me as his half brother. It's all kinds of cheesy dad jokes and stuff like that. Kate and Arnon have become good friends, and that's how I actually met Kate and Arnon. It was through my cousin, and so my cousin Heather and Kate have become close friends. And my other cousin Andrew, he's a big dude. Like he's probably 6'2". If he's less than 300 pounds, he's not much less than 300 pounds. And we figured it'd be kind of neat if we started like our own crime fighting duo. His idea, not mine, and we'd be called Chubby and Stubby. So it's a work in progress. But yeah, the sense of humor was huge, and then just how I was raised. I was never raised like poor Chris, missing arms and legs. I was just Chris, and I was always given opportunities to figure things out and do things. If I wanted to try snowboarding, if I wanted to go play baseball, it wasn't, I don't know, maybe we should, I don't know if it's going to be safe, or what if this happens. It was, all right, let's figure out a way to make it happen. And my parents took a very hands-off approach, pun intended, to how they raised me. They didn't hover over top of me and do everything for me. They said it was tough to see me struggle, try to figure out how to do things. They wanted to jump in and they wanted to help out, but they realized if they took that step back and let me figure things out on my own, I would figure it out. And if they did everything for me, that would rob me of the opportunity to learn problem-solving skills or clever ways to just figure things out. And for that reason, I'm completely 100% self-sufficient and independent when I travel, and I travel all over the world. I travel on my own. I lug my own bag around. I don't have to have somebody help me get ready in the morning or anything like that. I'm completely, totally 100% self-sufficient. And I guarantee you, if my parents would have babied me and coddled me, I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be still living at home, sitting around waiting for somebody else to do all the work for me. So, and that goes for anybody. At work, if there's parents here for your kids, the best thing you could do for your kids is less. And I do a lot of work with the WARAMPS, Child Amputee Program, and kids, parents with infant children who are missing a hand or missing both arms or legs or whatever. That's the first thing I tell those parents. You want to help that kid out? Do less. And it's tough to do, but I guarantee it'll pay dividends in the end. I guess my life now consists of two things. Like I said, I grew up in southern Alberta. I grew up on the farm. I remember, as far back as I can remember, bouncing around on tractors and combines and stuff like that with my grandpa down in Claresholm area. And now I still do help out on the farm, when I'm not doing presentations like this. And this is a full-time gig. I'm on the road at least 200 days of the year doing presentations, and I love it. So I actually have to block off time to be helping out on the farm. I probably should be on a combine right now, not gonna lie. But yeah, and I love this job. But I do love farming, and the farming, it's always been something that I've been able to do without any major modifications or alterations to the equipment. I can climb up the ladder and get into pretty much any piece of equipment and drive it just as is. Climbing up the ladder is probably the most difficult part, and it's really not that difficult at all. And I love it for so many reasons, but one of the main reasons I love farming is it's not a job people expect a guy without arms and legs to be doing. And I love that wow factor. I love driving down the highway to the next field, or down the road to the next field in a combine or a tractor, and as you can see in the photos, or as you might know, all of that equipment, it's all windows, very narrow steering column. So if I'm driving along and you've never seen me before and I give you a great big wave, you can clearly see that the guy in that machine has no arms, no legs, and you can literally see people like, what the fuck? And I love that. I love that wow factor. First and foremost, I love proving to myself what I'm capable of doing, but I love proving to others what I'm capable of doing, and hopefully it has them look within themselves and say, all right, hey, if this guy without arms and legs could run a tractor, run a combine, or travel the world or whatever, maybe I can raise the bar in my own life a little bit. So I guess it works. It's a dual purpose thing. Like I said, presentations, this is a full-time gig, and I love it. The opportunity to go and just tell my story and hopefully inspire and motivate people to raise the bar in their own lives, or decide to tackle that one thing that they've always talked about doing or dreamt about doing and hesitated for whatever reason. I love it. And I've had the opportunity to do presentations all over the world. Like Antarctica and Africa are the only two continents that I haven't done presentations on yet. I don't know if I'll be doing one in Antarctica anytime soon. I don't know if penguins need much motivation, but you never know. But again, I love it. It's been some amazing opportunities have presented themselves. Last winter, almost 2 winters ago now, I was doing some presentations down in Australia, in South Australia, close to Port Lincoln. I don't know if any of you know much about that part of Australia, but South Australia, just south from the coast there, is where a lot of great white sharks converge. And after one of my presentations, one of the guys who organized asked me if I'd be interested in going shark cage diving, to which my response was, I'm already missing arms and legs, so what's left to lose? Let's go do this. But it was awesome because on the boat ride down from Port Lincoln to the Neptune Islands, it's about a 2-hour boat ride, and a bunch of other tourists on that boat. And I was telling all of them that that was actually my second time shark cage diving. The first time didn't go so well, so I was there to face my fears. And then even better, the captain of the boat, when we dropped anchor, he comes to the back and he's doing safety demonstration and all the do's and don'ts. He's like, all right, you're going to be down at the shark cage. It's going to be great white sharks swimming by, like 2-3 meters long. Because you're going to have your GoPro camera. And you're going to want to get a really good photo or a really good video of these things. Because whatever you do, don't stick your arm outside the cage. It'd be a really stupid thing to do. Just ask Chris. So I love when other people get in on the humor too. But if I can, originally started off as an idea for a travel show. And I love traveling. And a good buddy of mine, JR from Stavely, also an avid traveler. We actually tried out for the first Canadian Amazing Race Canada. Anyways, love traveling, and we came up with this concept for a travel show. All kinds of travel shows out there. Ours would have the unique element of a guy with arms and legs going around the world and crossing off all these bucket list items and doing all these crazy adventures. So we since then partnered up with a production company out of Los Angeles. One of the guys that runs the production company, his name is Justin Baldoni. I don't know if there's any fans of or anybody knows the show Jane the Virgin. So he plays Raphael. So I've become good friends with him. So we've filmed the pilot for this travel show, which I'm going to show you the first couple minutes of the travel show right now. Give my voice a bit of a rest. Growing up, I spent a lot of time on my grandpa's farm, a small town, southern Alberta, and it was a pretty normal life. I am Chris Koch, farmer, motivational speaker. Anything is possible. If you can dream it, you can do it. And a professional adventurer.
Chris's life needs to be exciting, because if it's not, he has nothing to talk about.
A professional adventurer is the job of a lifetime.
Chris has never shied away from anything, ever.
He's an amazing athlete. He can do a lot of stuff that I know a lot of people can't do.
Chris has been doing this his whole life.
I grew up very, very slowly. I'm still only about 3'6". People say that I have a disarming personality. I use that humor as a great icebreaker. People are like, oh, this guy is easygoing, he's laughing and loving life. I definitely have some disadvantages of being a professional adventurer based on my physical limitations, but I try not to acknowledge that. And yeah, I was born without arms and legs, but it happens. I've got this amazing girlfriend, my family, incredible friends. I'm trying to cross off bucket list items, and as hectic as it is, there's so many other amazing things out there to see and do. If a guy without arms and legs can do all those things, anybody is capable of doing anything. So to bring you up to date as to where we're at with that show, we have to reshoot a lot of that stuff because I don't have that girlfriend anymore. I was doing a presentation at a high school, and one of the girls said, well, what happened? I'm like, she died. She didn't. She's alive. And I think well. But
this is when we ask for singles.
What's that?
This is when we ask for
Yeah, so I lost where I was. Sorry. Don't have that girlfriend anymore. Got to reshoot that. But we actually just did another round of pitches to History Channel and Discovery Network about 2-3 weeks ago down in LA. So we'll see what happens. If it gets picked up, great. If not, I'm still traveling around, trying to find the next adventure and crossing off all these bucket list items. And I'm always try to push myself. I don't want to do a presentation about that one thing I did 10 years ago. I want to do presentations and talk about something that I just did, and that kind of leads well into 2 weeks ago I did the Edmonton Marathon. I've done a few marathons now, but 2 weeks. This one was actually probably the coolest one because I wanted to do another marathon. It's a great excuse to attempt to stay in shape, and I wanted to do it to raise money for the War Amps Child Amputee Program, which is an organization that has been instrumental in my life. As much as my parents and my friends and family were huge in my life, the War Amps were just as instrumental. And actually, the first marathon is where I met the cameraman, raising money for Infant the Gold. Anyways, did one to raise money for the War Amps, and then that little girl you see in the picture, her name is Melania. She's 6 years old, and her mom was telling her about how I was doing the Edmonton Marathon and raising money for the War Amps. And Melania says, I want to do a marathon with Chris. And her mom's like, oh, marathons? That's a long distance. She goes, I don't care. I want to do a marathon with Chris. She's missing both legs and uses a skateboard to get around as well, and she uses her hands to propel. So her mom and her dad talked her down to just doing the 5K. So after I did my marathon, I went around and I was able to finish the last part of her 5K with her, and I thought that was so cool. Like I said, I'm always pushing myself to do more and expect more of myself. And then this is also, I don't know if you guys recognize the logo on the hat, but this is a great segue into, I guess, this new role that I have with GuestTek, and I'm pretty excited about it. I guess I'd said earlier that I met Kate and Arnon through my cousin, and did a presentation down at CAB, and then Kate and Arnon came up with this opportunity to become a brand ambassador, and not just wear the logo and do cool stuff, but also be able to help out with product development. And I guess my situation is very unique, and I think I'm able to tick off a couple of the boxes. Both, I'm a traveler with a disability. By the way, I don't know what the proper terminology is, so somebody else might tell you that it's supposed to be differently abled or live different or whatever. Anyways, I do tick off that box, but I also tick off the boxes of, I don't need accessible room. I don't need that stuff. So I tick off the box as a venture traveler as well as a business traveler. So I guess there's that insight that I can glean. And it's really cool. I'm learning a lot about GuestTek, and one of the things I've learned about GuestTek is they've been around for 22 years here in Calgary and going strong for 22 years. And I know Calgary, it's been a difficult city for the last couple of years. It's so driven by oil and gas, and I've actually really noticed it a lot in the last 6 months. And I don't know, raise your hand if you agree with me, but there's just been this lull hanging over the city, and a lot of people are just really down. And a lot of people are down because of oil and gas, but even industry that's not related to oil and gas, those people are kind of getting brought down by the whole atmosphere, and I think it's dangerous, I think. And I guess one of the points that I talk a lot about in my presentation is you get a life what you put into it, and it works on so many levels. I mean, you can put it as simply as you put out happiness, you put out generosity, you put out love into the universe, you're going to get it back as well. You put out hatred, you put out ugliness, you're going to get that back as well. Do as much for other people as you can, and people will, it'll reward you in the end. But I think also just the atmosphere that you create, whether it be at home or in the office or just out there in the city. I firmly believe, there's extenuating circumstances. There's a lot of people going through a lot of stuff. Everybody you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about, so be kind always. But I think it's also how you choose to react to whatever's going on, whether it be the economy here in Canada, whatever's going on in the office, or life in general. We all have something that's going on, and I guess to use myself as the example, I have bad days. Life hasn't been perfect. There's been those stretches where things just aren't going well, and a lot of times when I am going through a rough patch or a down day, I try and, as much as I don't want to do it, I am guilty of blaming it on the fact that I'm missing arms and legs, because it's really easy to find that scapegoat. it's really easy to say, you know what, if I had arms and legs, life would be so much easier. If I had arms and legs, life would be a hell of a lot easier. The fact of the matter is, I don't have arms and legs. I'm never going to have arms and legs, so why waste time and energy worrying about that? And just like the economic climate here in Calgary, that's something that we can't necessarily change, but we can do the little things to make our life and the lives around us a little bit better. And I hope I'm able to bring that to GuestTek. Whether it be doing something as simple as doing a presentation like this, and I fully plan on coming in and hanging out at the office every once in a while. And yeah, this afternoon there's plenty of opportunity to just chat, and I hope I can bring more than just visibility to the GuestTek logo or developing products, but help just improve the atmosphere in the office, even if it's telling a corny joke or whatever. So I want to thank Kate and Arna and everybody else for welcoming me here into GuestTek and for allowing me to come in and do this presentation. And I guess this is kind of in closing. This is a really neat flow chart that kind of adds to what I've been talking about. And I saw this on the wall of a school in elementary school, of all places, in Hannah. And it's so simple. It's something that we often forget about. Are you happy? Yes. Do you want to be happy? Yes. Then continue what you're doing. Are you happy? No. Do you want to be happy? Yes. Make a change. It's so simple. And we often forget about that simple little thing. When we kind of simplify life and realize that every good thing that happens in life, every positive thing that has happened in our lives, that began and it ended with you. And same for the negative. Every negative thing that happens in life, every loss that happens in life, that also begins and ends with you. Yeah, sometimes it is extenuating circumstances, but how you choose to react to that, that is completely on you. And then I think when you look at life that way, life doesn't seem like it's out of your control, and you're just kind of, your life is dictated by whatever's going on around you. So I'm just gonna finish off with this last little video and see ya! Woo! This jump has taken a huge leap of faith.
He's built this bridge to a new life, and he is jumping into totally uncharted territories. So this leap is everything.
If I can jump off this bridge and come out on top, I can jump into this new chapter of my life and come out on top. People create all kinds of limitations, and if people think I'm a hero, then I've done a pretty good job tricking them. I just like to have fun.
I think the world really needs a dude who's maybe had more struggle than everyone else, who still is so willing to go head on, just do ridiculous things and not take anything too seriously.
Chris is a living, breathing, not walking, but rolling example of that.
If I could take this leap of faith, anybody can. See you later. So if anybody has any questions at all, whether it be traveling, life, GuestTek, whatever, or just random questions, when I do presentations at elementary schools, those are the best questions ever. You give a 7-year-old, 6-year-old kid an opportunity to ask whatever question they want, and you get some doozies. So yeah, don't be shy. Otherwise, I will be around and we can chat later.
If you were to take anything away or let anybody know about War Rounds, what would be one thing that you would want to?
Gonna have a normal, productive life. What's in store for my child's future? And they go to a seminar. We just had one up in Edmonton a couple of weeks ago, and they could look around and see all these other kids that are missing a limb or several limbs, running around doing absolutely everything, and you can just see them almost breathe a collective sigh of relief. Like, you know what? Not just is everything going to be fine, it's going to be absolutely incredible. So that would be my very long answer to a very short.
So what was it that got you into public speaking? Like, what was the reason? And did you find it easy to do that?
Probably about 7, 8, 9 years ago, I started traveling more, and I had more stories to tell. And I could sit down and listen to somebody who's traveled the world for hours. I'll just feed him a country. I got a buddy from Norway. He's traveled all 198 countries twice, just because once isn't enough. You just throw a country out. Angola, Peru, Montenegro, and he has an amazing story for everyone. And I felt that being able to tell my travel stories opened up myself to the things like farming that I'd done that I didn't really think was all that exceptional, that other people thought was pretty cool. Kind of made all the other normal things that I was doing seem pretty cool as well, and I just kind of grew from there. The bungee jump was pretty amazing. My favorite adventure that I've ever been on, I hitchhiked across Canada last summer. Well, it wasn't hitchhiking, because I don't have thumbs. That's what I was going to tell the cops. Because, I don't know, it's kind of a weird little, it's not illegal to hitchhike, but it's illegal to pick up a hitchhiker. And I wanted to get across Canada. Actually, I was in a funk. That's how it all, I broke up with a girlfriend, I was in a funk, and for a couple months I wasn't doing anything about it. And finally I was sick and tired of just allowing myself to feel like shit, just to be bold. So I'm like, hey, I got to do something to just vault myself out of this funk. And that kind of goes back to that whole, you got to like what you put into it. You know, put that accountability on your shoulders. I'm not going to wait for somebody else to get me out of that funk. I'm going to take things into my own hands. Works. So I thought, you know what? I got a couple of buddies who've hitchhiked across Canada. I thought it was pretty cool. I'm going to try and get across Canada. And I kind of dubbed it Traveling Across Canada Purely Through the Kindness of Strangers. I didn't want to be on the side of the road trying to flag a ride down. I didn't want people to pull over and think I was, in distress or anything like that. I wanted people to, out of the kindness of their own heart, step up and say, hey, can I help you out? Do you need a ride or whatever? So I literally went to the edge of the city and I started boarding east. And I figured if I could get 4 to 5 hours down the road each day, I had an outside chance in the window that I had available to me to make it all the way to St. John's, Newfoundland. First day was a breeze. I was probably boarding for 7 minutes, maybe 3/4 of a kilometer. Jeep pulled over, asked me if I needed a ride. Said, I'm trying to get to Medicine Hat tonight. Said, that's where we're going, jump in. Perfect. Second day, not so easy. From Dunmore, which is just on the east side of Medicine Hat, I boarded for probably 4-5 hours, a little over 20 kilometers, just about the Saskatchewan border. And it was getting pretty damn hot that day when a trucker from the Humboldt area pulled over and asked me if I needed a ride. And yeah, 18 days, about 4,000 kilometers later, I made it all the way to St. John's, Newfoundland. And answer your question, or short questions, I give long answers to.
Aside from your sports, can you tell us about your biggest challenge and how you overcame it?
My biggest challenge, just like anybody, is me. That's my biggest challenge. I get in my own way, you get in your own way, we all get in our own way. People would think trying to get around a hotel room that isn't accessible would be a huge challenge, other than light switches that are up high. Or actually, my pet peeve is shower heads. A lot of times when they clean the rooms, they'll tip the shower head off to the wall, so the water's not on them, and then they don't move it back. And then I get in there, and it's always when I've been traveling for like 30 hours and your skin is just crawling and all you want is to have a nice hot shower, and you get in there and the effing thing is pointed at the wall. And it's a stand-up shower, it's not like a run-in bath. Anyways, I digress. What was your question? What's my birthday? Was that your question? It's my biggest challenges are, breaking up with a girlfriend and just trying to recover from that, or the crossroads you come in life. Am I living my full purpose? Or those kinds of things. The 6 inches of space between the ears. Physically, it's things that are higher up, but you figure out creative ways to get it done. I've stood up on the side of a bathtub and used my skateboard to tap the shower head, back to a normal position. I've used ironing boards. The towels, a lot of times they're up above the toilet, so you climb up onto the toilet and then up onto the countertop, grab a towel, and that goes back to my parents stepping back and saying, all right, we want to help them out as much as possible, but the best way we can help them out is by not helping them out. So yeah. Okay, can I tell a funny story?
Of course.
Okay.
It's your show, man.
Kate, can they just have the rest of the afternoon off? You're welcome. Best brand ambassador ever. So my dad was at a horse clinic down in the States, and one evening they're all sitting around having a barbecue, having some drinks, telling stories and jokes and stuff like that. And this one lady who knew absolutely nothing about me told the joke, what do you call a guy without arms and legs in the water? And my dad says, Chris. And the lady goes, no, it's Bob. And my dad goes, no, that's his brother. Which, my brother's name is actually Bob. So the lady thinks my dad's an idiot. She's like, well, no, it's like Bob, like the Bob up and down in the water. My dad goes, yeah, I know the joke, but I have a son without arms and legs, and his name is Chris. And then I have another son. He has arms and legs, and we named him Bob. So then the lady figures that my dad's trying to pull her joke. Pull her leg, sorry. So he goes, well, you know, if you go to the website, ifican.ca, you'll see a guy without arms and legs. His name is Chris, and that's my son. So she's got out her phone, and she's going to call his bluff, and then, sure enough, there I am, and I think there's a picture of my dad and I. And then she felt horrible, which I love when that happens. I love making people squirm, checking into a flight, at the airport, and they'll say, now, is there, if we put you in a seat closer to the front of the plane, will that make it easier for you to get on and off? I'm like, honestly, as long as there's lots of leg room, I don't care where I sit. And you say that deadpan, and you just wait for either A, for them to get the joke, or see that panic in their eyes, like, is he serious? And then I often get moved to the front of the plane, bulkhead, which is heaps of leg room. So I'm sitting there on that seat, and my leg barely getting to the edge of the seat, and some poor bastard that's like 6'5" comes onto the plane. They're looking at me like, I'm here for most of the next couple hours at least, so if you have any other questions, you want to chat, by all means. Again, I want to thank you very, very much for having me here today, for bringing me into GuestTek, and have a great lunch. And